On the broadcast tonight, scam alert, following an email Wednesday informing students of Social Security fraud impacting campus, what students can do if they've been affected. Time to vote. As SGA prepares to hold elections for office, we tell you who's running and what they're running for. And helping people from beyond, how Alex Trebek's legacy is helping those in need months after his death. That and more, our coverage begins right now on SUTV News. Good evening and welcome to SUTV News. I'm Brady Fisher. Yesterday, SUPD sent out an email warning students of a scam targeting Shippensburg students. According to Carl Schuschultz, a member of the campus community received a text from someone claiming to be from the Social Security Administration. The text included a link which provided instructions on how to correct a problem with their Social Security number.
One of the biggest things that we ask is that if somebody gets a text message or an email or a phone call that they're just not too sure of, instead of acting immediately and responding to it right away, to ask somebody.
And you can always go to the Social Security Administration website, and then they will explain to you exactly how they will correspond with you and tell you what to do in order to avoid scams like this.
To learn more about how to protect yourself against Social Security fraud, visit www.ssa.gov. With students returning to campus, on Tuesday, the Cub and the Office of the President held a welcome back celebration. SUTV's Ben Doika has more.
Last Tuesday, more than 400 students stopped by the Cub for a Welcome Back Day celebration. Complimentary gloves, snacks, and hot drinks were provided to students who showed up between 11 and 2 o'clock. Michael Dugnan, the director of the Cub, said it's important to have these social events and to remain safe while doing them.
The thing is that people really feel the need to connect, and that is a key element to humans and especially college students, and so we try to provide those in the best way we can do possible for you for safety, but also for enjoyment.
The Welcome Back celebration was the first of many planned events this semester. This upcoming Saturday, APB will be hosting a laser tag and mini golf tournament in the Shipwreck from 8 p.m. to 12 a.m. For SUTV News, I'm Ben Doika.
The SGA elections are coming up next week. 4 candidates are running together under a united platform entitled Our Campus, One Family. This includes Riley Brown, Skylar Walder, Chase Slanker, and Chris Higgins. All 4 running for 4 different positions. Also running are Jordan Newsom-Little, running against Riley Brown for president, and Amani Cameron running for Vice President of Eternal Affairs. Voting begins on Monday, March 1st, and the link to vote will be sent to your SHIP email. SUTV will be hosting a debate for the presidential candidates, which will be posted on Saturday, February 27th. Penn State's Thon event, virtually this year due to the COVID-19 pandemic, raised more than $10.5 million for pediatric cancer. The live-streamed event from February 19th through February 21st brought multiple events remotely and from the Bryce Jordan Center on campus. In total, Thon raised $10,638,078.62 for childhood cancer research. In good news on the COVID-19 vaccine front, CVS is receiving a new supply through the Federal Retail Pharmacy Program. The pharmacy says 570,000 doses will be available in 17 states starting now, including a few PA locations. When the initial rollout began, CVS was only given 250,000 doses in only 11 states. Locally, CVS offers vaccines in Chambersburg, York, and Enola. Other locations include Reading, New Kensington, and Westchester. While appointments are booked, CVS is excited to make the vaccine more accessible when the supplies become available. Now, let's send it over to OLIVIA FAENZA with this week's SLATE preview.
Coming up this week in the SLATE, our news section will cover the SGA candidate speeches and more information on the new R3 testing center. The opinion section will feature this week's SLATE Speaks staff editorial about the online learning environment. Ship Life will feature SU alumnus Gunnar Michaels and his TikTok marriage to a stranger. Arts and Entertainment will feature the poor representation of LGBTQ members in Hollywood. Our sports section will feature a baseball preview this week, as well as a memoriam story on former SU lacrosse player Julia Wise. And finally, the multimedia section will showcase a winter gallery. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at ShipUSlate, and be sure to pick up the next edition of the Slate Tuesday in newsstands or read anytime at theslateonline.com.
The U.S. has now surpassed 500,000 deaths due to COVID-19, and as the nation mourns, President Biden honors those we've lost. SUTV's Adam Beam has the latest.
Today we mark a truly grim, heartbreaking milestone. 500,071 dead.
It was this sobering start to President Biden's speech Monday that came after the U.S. passed a grim milestone. It has now been reported that over 500,000 people have lost their lives to COVID-19 since the start of the pandemic just under a year ago. And even as vaccines continue to roll out nationwide, the U.S. still has the highest virus toll than any other nation, and now a death toll higher than all of the American casualties in World War I, World War II, and the Vietnam War combined. When you look back at the beginning of the pandemic back in March, Dr. Anthony Fauci projected that we could see a total of 240,000 deaths. Unfortunately, he was wrong, but not in the way that many had hoped. Monday night, President Biden gave a speech honoring the more than 500,000 we've lost, while reminding the rest of America to remain hopeful and that we could persevere through this terrible ordeal.
Let this not be a story of how far we fell, but of how far we climbed back up. We can do this. For in this year of profound loss, we've seen profound courage from all of you on the front lines.
The speech was followed by President Biden, First Lady Jill Biden, Vice President Kamala Harris, and Second Gentleman Doug Emhoff as they held a candlelight moment of silence for the 500,000 we've lost, as well as signing an executive order that all American flags be lowered to half-staff to remember those who have passed. This milestone shows just how many Americans have been affected since the start of the pandemic. CNN anchor Brianna Kyler breaking down on air as she reported on the breaking news.
These stories of our fellow Americans puncture that armor that is natural to have accumulated over the past year, and that's okay. We need to remember the people that we have lost.
While it is a haunting statistic, there is a chance to remain hopeful. While winter weather has slowed down some vaccine distributions, a majority of the rollout is making progress as every day more and more Americans are getting vaccinated. At least 13% of the population has received their first doses of the vaccine, and with that, the number of COVID-19 related deaths has slowed down significantly. However, while the vaccination process remains promising, there are still long ways to go before things return to normal. And as the death toll still rises, for many Americans, some things may never be normal again. For SUTV News, I'm Adam Beam.
The U.S. House has passed the Equality Act for Sex Discrimination. The act aims to end discrimination based on sexual orientation and gender identity. The act was passed in the House in 2019, but stalled in the Senate. The act passed 224 to 206, with 3 Republicans joining the Democrats. The winter weather disaster in Texas has caused outrage all over the state and the country. Megan Talley gives us a look at how PA is responding.
In Texas, many are still without power and water as relief is slowly creeping in from all over the country. But this is also something the state dealt with about 10 years ago, and one electric official in El Paso thought the lesson was learned back then.
We actually had over 3 days where the temperature here in El Paso never got above freezing, and we lost most of our local units. Those impacts lasted for weeks and weeks after. And so we made that decision that we were going to harden our assets, that we were going to invest in new technology and invest in new infrastructure.
Of course, while El Paso is on the same grid as the western U.S. and Pennsylvania in the east, 90% of Texas is mostly on its own grid to avoid certain federal regulations. That power grid, called ERCOT, is being criticized by residents for how unprepared they were for the sub-freezing temperatures. In one county alone, 16 residents died from hypothermia related to the power outages, and Governor Abbott is taking the hit.
I'm taking responsibility for the current status of ERCOT. Again, I find what has happened unacceptable.
In Pennsylvania, Governor Wolf has taken measures to make sure PA residents are safe during serious winter storms. The Commonwealth continues to use response centers throughout the state during winter storms to ensure safety on the roads and at home. And now, Mid-State Group Mennonite Disaster Service out of Lancaster County is sending plumbers to volunteer and help clean up and fix burst pipes in San Antonio and Houston. SUTV News, Megan Talley.
President Biden will be visiting Texas on Friday to survey the damage. Pro golfer Tiger Woods is in stable condition after his car accident this past Tuesday, but there still looks to be a long road to recovery for the five-time Masters winner. Since his accident, Woods has been diagnosed with multiple fractures in both legs, as well as severe trauma to both the muscle and deep tissue in those legs. Woods went into surgery almost immediately after the crash, with his legs requiring pins, rods, and screws. The car Woods was driving, a Genesis GV80, is being credited with saving Woods' life due to the safety features within the car. The car was equipped with 10 different airbags, and Woods was in fact wearing his seatbelt at the time of the crash. As of now, authorities believe that the crash was purely an accident. However, there is still more investigating to be done. Former President Trump has not made a public appearance since leaving office, but is now set to appear next Sunday at the Conservative Political Action Conference. SUTV's Adam Beam has more.
Not since leaving office on January 20th has former President Donald Trump made any kind of public appearance, not even during or following his second impeachment trial earlier this month. However, after more than a month, former President Trump will be making his first public appearance post-White House at the Conservative Political Action Conference in Orlando, Florida, next Sunday, the 7th. However, it should also be noted that former Vice President Mike Pence has declined the invitation to the event. Many look to the Capitol riots back on January 6th that have left Mike Pence and Trump's professional relationship up in the air. This is mainly due to the fact that Vice President Pence was there that day at the Capitol when it was attacked, with many of the protesters chanting, "Hang Mike Pence," and other threats towards his life. Mike Pence also went against former President Trump's claims that the election was fraudulent, as he helped confirm Joe Biden as the 46th President of the United States, as well as being the only one out of the two to attend Biden's inauguration. A spokesperson has told news sources that the former president is expected to discuss, quote, talking about the future of the Republican Party and the conservative movement, as well as for the 45th president to take on President Biden's disastrous amnesty and border policies, end quote. However, while this is a multi-day event, it is unclear how many of those days former President Trump will speak at, and for how long. It should also be noted that this will be Trump's best chance at communicating with his supporters, as he still remains permanently banned from Twitter and other social media platforms. And while President Trump avoided the legal ramifications of his second impeachment, he still faces numerous lawsuits and legal actions taken against him, as well as the Supreme Court rejecting a push to stop the grand jury from receiving Trump's tax returns. While President Biden is just over a month in office, many still wonder what the Republican Party will have in store come 2024, as many feel the GOP is more divided than ever, and whether or not Trump can secure another nomination by then. For SUTV News, I'm Adam Beam.
Last week, NASA's rover landed on Mars, capturing the magnificent first images. SUTV's Cole McCowan has the latest.
It was a monumental day for NASA and the future of space exploration. NASA's Mars rover Perseverance landed on the red planet this past Thursday after more than 6 months of travel, covering almost 300 million miles. The rover sent its first images directly after landing, writing on its official Twitter account, quote, "Hello world, my first look at my forever home," end quote. This Mars rover mission, called Mars 2020, was an official part of the NASA Mars Exploration Program, which started all the way back in July 30th, 2020 at its launch. This rover lived up to its name as the NASA team had to persevere and spend the final phases of this mission in the midst of the coronavirus pandemic. NASA Administrator Steve Jerzik said, quote, "Perseverance is just getting started and already has provided some of the most iconic visuals in space exploration history. It reinforces the remarkable level of engineering and precision that is required to build and fly a vehicle to the red planet," end quote. The rover survived a 7-mile plummet to the surface before landing on a crater. Now the rover's mission is to search for signs of ancient life on the planet while also taking samples and studying the climate. Ultimately, the successful mission was a relief to NASA and an exciting look ahead to the future of exploration on Mars. But for now, we'll just have to eagerly wait for any news about signs of life and what space travel may look like. With SUTV News, I'm Cole McCowan.
Now let's go over to Bailey Casada, who has this week's weather. Bailey?
Well, we are right on the doorstep of March, and the temperatures are sure making it feel like March. Tonight, the temperature will drop significantly from earlier today to 29 degrees and partly cloudy. Tomorrow, we wrap up the work week with temps in the mid-40s and mostly cloudy. Looking ahead at our 5-day forecast, expect some rain throughout this weekend, especially on Sunday. Temperatures throughout the week plan to stay in the high 40s and low 50s, with the sun sticking around and peeking through the clouds all week long. That's your weather update. I'm Bailey Casada. Now back to Brady at the desk.
The beloved host of Jeopardy is still giving back even after his unfortunate passing. In a way of honoring Alex Trebek and his legacy, the crew of Jeopardy and his family donated a portion of his wardrobe to charity. Donations went directly to the Doe Fund, an organization that provides paid work, housing, training, and much more to the homeless and incarcerated communities. Trebek is remembered as a very understanding and kind person. His last day on set, he reminded everyone to open their hearts to those who are suffering. The executive producer of Jeopardy, Mike Richards, said, quote, "Donating his wardrobe to those who are working to rebuild their lives is the perfect way to honor that last request," end quote. In all, Trebek's family donated over 400 items of clothing, including 300 neckties, 4 suits, and 58 dress shirts. That's our broadcast for this Thursday night. I'm Brady Fisher. Be sure to tune in Saturday for an SGA presidential debate moderated by SUTV's Jacob Hitz. Be sure to check out all of our social media at SUTV News and our website at sutvnews.org. We're back with sports on Monday. Until then, good night.